Hey everyone, it's Mary, and we're going to do a special series of videos as part of the Once and Future Writers Club, but a little bit different because instead of talking craft as we have been, which is super important, don't get me wrong, we have to write the best book we can, but a lot of you have asked, kind of the next step. Once my book is finished, how do I get it from manuscript on my computer to, book on bookstore shelves? And so I thought I would do a series of videos talking about the publication process. Now, this is traditional publishing, which is what I do. This is actual books in bookstores that are gone through a publisher like HarperCollins or Simon & Schuster or Penguin Random House or in my case, Disney. There is a whole nother world of self-publishing where you put your own books up on Amazon, Kindle, Nook, and all that good stuff. And we can talk about that later. That's not really my expertise. My expertise comes from traditional publishing. And so that is what I'm going to talk about in this series of videos, how you would get your book traditionally published. Now, I do want to say that is, again, not the only way to get published. So the whole self-publishing thing is perfectly legitimate. It's a great way to get published these days. A lot of people do it and have amazing success with it. That is just not the road I have taken very often, so I want to talk about traditional. Okay, that said, the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to traditional publishing that most people have questions about is how to get an agent. Now, I'm actually on my third agent because the agent you get when you're just starting out might be the perfect agent for you then, but then as you grow as a writer, as you change, as your needs change, you might also change representation. So the agent you're looking for now may not be your forever agent, and that's okay. You want someone that will help you with this stage of getting that first book published, because that is a big hurdle right then and there. Okay. So the great news, first of all, I want to say about an agent is they don't cost money up front, okay? If you see an advertisement for an agent that requests you send them money, now they could couch that in kind of a sneaky way, like if you send us money for a reading fee, or if you send us money for a processing fee or something like that, and send us money and we will edit your book and represent you, that is still not legitimate. It's a scam. It's a ripoff. It's not a true agent. True agents never charge you money up front, okay? They only get paid if they sell your book. So if they represent you and they never sell your book, it's okay. You don't have to pay them a dime. And that's really good news, right? Because none of us have any money when we start out. That's sort of why we want to publish our books to begin with, is to make some money. And so you can get an agent and you don't have to pay them anything until they sell your book, okay? So that's the very first thing to know. The second thing you might be wondering is why I need an agent. And if you are self-publishing, for example, as we mentioned before, it may be something that you don't need because you don't need a gatekeeper. You don't need a representative to go to the publisher for you. You don't need to have someone look over contracts for you. So an agent might be something that you don't need right now in your publishing journey. However, if you are trying to get traditionally published, an agent can do a lot of things for you. And I'm going to go through some of those things right now. So first of all, an agent is your representative to the publisher to get your book sold. Now, if you were to walk up to HarperCollins in New York City and knock on their door and be like, hey, dudes, I got a book. It's like really awesome. You should read it. They would probably, one, slam the door in your face, or two, call the police, right? They don't have time or interest in dealing with us little people, okay? They have no interest. And so that would be what was called an unsolicited, as in they didn't ask for it, submission. And most of them want none of those, okay? They just don't have the time to deal with how many manuscripts would come in and then having to go through them and trying to find like that hidden, diamond in the rough. An agent, on the other hand, can be sort of a gatekeeper to them because these agents, good agents, will form relationships with the editors. They will go and meet them. And they don't have to live in New York City to meet them. They can travel to New York City. A lot of agents don't live in New York anymore. That's kind of a thing of the past. So they can go to New York. They can meet with all these different editors, talk to them, have lunch with them, find out the kind of stories the editors love, what they're looking for, what they're hoping to find, and then bringing all that information home and then using that information to match their clients, you and I, with the right editor who will like your book. So if you have an editor out there who is dying for a King Arthur time travel, well, the agent's going to know that, hopefully, and they're going to send your book to that editor, as opposed to the editor who's like, I only like realistic books, anything with a fantasy element, I am going to turn down. Every editor has different tastes, and the agent's job is to know those tastes and send your book, okay? So that is the agent's number one job, getting your book into the hands of the correct editor who has the biggest chance of buying it. But that is only the first thing they do. So let's say you have an editor now interested in your book. Your agent has sent your book over. The editor's like, this is great. I am going to offer you a publishing deal. And they're going to hand you the worst deal ever. It is not in the publisher's best interest to give you $1 million, right? Unless they think that's the only way they can get your book. And so an agent's job is to get you the best deal. So imagine it's like this. Editor A from Publishing House A says, oh, I love your book. It's so great. We're going to offer you $10,000 in a list of these terms. The agent's job then is to go back and negotiate and be like, $10,000? I think you probably want to ask for more like $20,000. And then the editor's like, oh, we'll give you 15 or whatever it is. And I'm just making these numbers off the top of my head. It could be 50. It could be 5. It could be 1,000. I mean, the publishing deals vary so greatly. And so the agent's job is to negotiate the best deal they can get. And they know this stuff. We don't know this stuff. You know, like if an editor says, hey, I want to publish your book and pay you in chickens, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a published author. I will take the chickens, right? You don't really want the chickens, right? Of course you don't. And the agent's job is to be that impartial party that comes in and has knowledge of what that publisher can do if they're properly motivated for you and your book, and to demand that. And if there's more than one publisher interested in your book, then they kind of play them off one another in something called an auction. So that's the best scenario, right? You have people fighting over you, and then you might make a lot more money or have a lot better terms for your book. An agent facilitates all of that. The next thing they do is deal with the contract. I don't know if you've ever seen a publishing contract, but they are like crazy. They're not as bad as Hollywood contracts, but still, they're like this thick. No, they're not really that thick, but they're like 20 pages long, okay? And there's all sorts of terms and conditions that we writers probably have no idea what they even mean. And we're like signing our lives away with this contract. So it's really good to have someone on your side who says, oh, you don't want to sign this. This isn't a good deal for you. You want to hold out for this, whatever it is. And then they argue back and forth, sometimes for months, with these publishers to get you the best deal. So you're not locked into something that you don't even understand and that is not to your advantage. Remember, again, publishing is a business. So as much as your editor thinks you're awesome and thinks your book is the coolest thing ever, it doesn't matter. They are still out to make money, and they have to work for their company, who does not want to give anything it doesn't have to. And so you, as the author, have to trust that your agent is going to get you terms that are going to work well for both the publisher and yourself. Okay. The next thing the agent will do for you is help you with problems. Now, as much as your editor loves you when they first acquire you, like everything else, sometimes the love doesn't last. Or even if it does, sometimes there's situations that come up. Like, for example, the cover you got is terrible. Like, you know it's never going to sell a single copy because it's so awful. An agent can help you and talk to the editor and be like, hey, can't we go back and try to like work this again? You know, they can kind of do that, whatever the problem. Or maybe your editor isn't returning your phone calls anymore or your emails, and you're really concerned and have a problem and you can't get their attention. The agent can be an intermediary. And the best thing is the agent's job is sometimes to be the bad guy so you don't have to. So you can work through this problem with your editor through your agent. So then your editor is like annoyed at your agent maybe, but she's not annoyed or he's not annoyed at you. And so you guys can keep that kind of great relationship going while the agent protects your best interests. So those are some of the things that an agent can do for you. And honestly, I know some people navigate this by themselves, and it is a possibility, but it's really nice to have someone have your back on things. So what do they get in exchange for that? Well, it's very simple. They get money. I talked earlier about how they don't get paid until you do. But once you do get paid, once they do get that deal for you, they get 15% of everything you make. Now, that may sound like a lot, but the good thing is they can usually negotiate that into your advance. So they can usually get a better advance for you, the money you get paid up front for your book, than you could get for yourself. And so they kind of bring in their own fee by doing something like that. So maybe your original offer was $40,000 a book and they get you up to $50,000, they're kind of paying for themselves a little bit there. And my math is not exactly right on that, but you know what I mean. They can get you more money so you can probably afford to give them more money. And honestly, for all the stuff they do, it is more than worth it. Sometimes my agents are so good that they deserve 25%. Don't tell them I said that because I'm not giving it to them. But the services they really, do are definitely worth it. So those are some of the things that an agent can do for you. And then the question becomes, how do you get an agent? And it's not easy to get an agent, okay? It's actually probably harder to get an agent than an editor. That's what some people say, and I tend to believe it at times because an agent, again, doesn't get paid until you do. So they have to really, 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 really like your book in order to decide to represent you, because they're going to be working for free until they get you a deal. So you have to be a superstar. You have to be someone that they really think they can make money on, because again, it's a business. And then they will agree to take you on, and hopefully it will work out. So those are a few things I just wanted to start out about agents. And I'm going to do another video very soon about how you get an agent, because I think that's what people really need to know and want to know and are curious about. How do you get that person to represent you? So stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to discuss various ways that you can get an agent, and then how to make that agent work for you the best. So thank you for listening to this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get notified when the next one comes out, because we're going to be doing a whole series of these, both about agents and getting editors and getting published, and the process of a book going from a manuscript to on store shelves. So please subscribe below, and you will get all this information as I do it. And I promise it's not going to be as long as some of my craft ones, because I am back. I'm ready to do these videos, and we're going to get them done. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Once and Future Writers Club.
Oh, the habits of my heart.